All right, welcome to Burn Rate and Beyond. We're in episode 2 of our 15-part series of how to streamline the finances for your business. Today we're here with Jeff and I'm Chad, and we're talking about how to leverage financial technology in your business. So I guess, Jeff, let's just start there. What does that mean, financial technology? How do you define that?
Yeah, and I feel like has come a long way, I should say, especially for many years ago, everything was, I don't say archaic, but very hands-on. But the technology now, as it's evolving and growing, it's really to help, kind of streamline inefficiencies to make things more efficient as well as more accurate and really kind of provide insights into the business that normally might have been either time-consuming or challenging in the past. So it's around us, and it's just getting started.
Excellent. Um, I feel like we've discussed in the past sort of like a triumvirate of three tools that can help here. So that it's not just an accounting system; it's accounting, a dashboard, and then predictive analytics. You want to dive into those a little bit?
Sure. I mean, the online accounting, right? When we talk about that, I mean, you think of those days of having, the QuickBooks desktop, right? I think there was a CD that you would even have to buy the software, install it on a computer, to even just a little as the online version, the cloud-based version, which is a lot more easier. That technology is I think pretty phenomenal to when that first came out, but that right there is a lot easier, the technology and even just their implementation of some AI. But then when you start coupling that with dashboards and providing those insights and KPIs specific to the business, it opens the door to even greater insights and technology. And then when you add that AI driven from a predictive analytics, I think there's really some power and magic in that, because anything with the AI, when we're talking about predictive analytics, it's a tool that, just the technology, you can start to uncover, analyze, even things a human eye can't see. And if we're actually using predictive analytics, it can really help try to navigate the complexities of the future, right? And kind of be prepared for what ifs and what if scenarios that are very helpful in the business. So those three are some key points that I think technology can really emphasize and enhance those features.
Now, when you say like dashboards, like I always think about like the dashboard in your car, that has a bunch of dials and they mean a bunch of there's a bunch of engineering behind those dials that I have absolutely no idea how it works or what it actually means from like the engineering speak, but I can understand like, oh, we're here and then the red line's over there, so that's bad. We don't want to get to the red line. Or I'm going 35 and the speed limit's 40, so I'm okay. So I guess is it just a bunch of like dials and graphs, or is there a specific platform or methodology behind that? Like what's because I'm not sure all business owners use a dashboard today.
Yeah, and I think a lot don't, and it's I think more common that folks don't because they might not know or aware of some of the tools that are out there now. But that's a good analogy, Chad, is when you're talking about a dashboard in a car, because if you think about it, it's giving you features, whether KPIs, right, these key performance indicators, but also a good pulse on the vehicle, right? How fast you're going, is there gas in the tank, and call them real-time analytics, right? And you can have that in terms of your business, right? And the technology now is, can really feed into your accounting solution that will actually provide you some real-time analytics and how much cash is in the bank and what are those certain metrics and, profit margin, things like that on a daily basis if you wanted to, but it gives you a good pulse on the business. So, different, you can set up these dashboards with many or as few as you would like, to really get that good pulse of what was really important. But the real-time aspect of it is a game changer.
Excellent. And I guess also makes me the thing about that I always think about is the hard part, I believe, is in your car it already comes made for you, right? Because it's mass produced. All the cars need to worry about essentially the same 4 or 5 or 6 things, but every business is unique. So it's almost like there's a whole process behind building and capturing the right data, and understanding what it actually means and what is the red line? Are we good? Are we not good? Are we green?
Yeah.
Is it red? You know, so there's a whole process there, which is actually, I guess it's sort of like in parallel to this process of leveraging the financial technology. Like if there is no process behind it in the business, then it's difficult to figure out the capture the correct data to feed into the dashboard. So do you have any other tips or hints on how to get that, or, or how those two interplay, the data behind it and the dashboard?
Yeah, I mean, I think it just starts with, understanding, the business, right? I mean, if this is different industries and just understanding the business and there's certain financial kind of KPIs, right? We're talking about, excuse me, revenue and cash and margins, things like that are important, but there might be other metrics that should be on that dashboard to get that good pulse, and whether it's like an inventory number or some sort of turn number, AR collectible. I mean, there's a lot, that can be added there. And I think it's when we talk about CEOs and leadership, it's what's important. I like to ask the question of, if you're gone for a month from the business, you have no communication at all, but you had a dashboard, like what are those items that you want on that dashboard to give you that good pulse of that business? And that helps, drive the implementation of that dashboard, because just say that does happen, you're gone, and a month, 2 months, 3 months, you can actually look at that, and those numbers will be very meaningful to you.
Excellent. I like that analogy, because I think the other piece about that, like the thinking about it from the standpoint of like if I was actually gone for a month, is also a lot of business owners is their business grows, becomes more complex, they get farther away from the work, and they need to have tools that give them confidence that
Yeah,
they can focus on different parts of the business without actually being in the weeds. So that's
yeah.
how it helps the owner better manage what's going on as well. I guess one thing is like, can this be done instantly? Is it just sort of plug and play? You're just like, oh, well, I'll just sign up for this thing, turn it on, and connect it to my Xero, my QuickBooks, and we'll be good to go. Is it that simple, or is there, is it, is it harder?
Well, I think there's tools out there that try to make it a plug and play, flip the switch and turn on. And I think it comes down to some sort of customization of what is important to you as, say, a business owner and a CEO and leadership, to really kind of customize a little bit once it is turned on. What I've seen it also too is, good teams at some of these places that can help walk you through to make the process even easier, customer support that can actually provide some assistance in setting it up the right way. But I think everyone wants everything done with a flip of a switch, but I think just the initial setup may not be complex, but there is some work probably to get it really customized and understand the software just like anything else, and then you're off and running.
The other the other thing I've seen is lots of founders do the books themselves in very early stages, and that's great because it's free, whatever, and all that stuff, right? If it's free, it's free.
Yeah.
But often I've seen that the books aren't done well, and there's gaps, and there's standard accounting processes that actually need to be implemented before the data actually is useful. So there's a bunch of processes that maybe the founder who's focused on wearing 17 different hats or whatever might not be fully processing the accounting the most correct way to leverage the tools that exist. So there might be a change in process that's involved as well to get it from how it's being done to actually being plug and play into these tools that can run. Well, good stuff. I guess another piece is automating the financial process. Like, so we kind of talked about that. You talk about we can set recurring bills, or we can set. Most software companies are actually based on a recurring billing model. So it's like the customers give them their credit card, and they just get charged every single month or once a year, whatever the agreement is. So that is an automation process, but that's just on the revenue side. There's other parts of the business that be automated as well. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, and automation, I think, is a key piece when it comes to technologies. I call it efficiencies, that the technology nowadays can actually be impactful when it comes to the automation. And when you look at just from past experience, right? I mean, we have our bill, or you call it the AP side, right? Our payables, right? This is cash that's leaving the business, so it's important both from a vendors, suppliers, what have you, but paying them on time, making sure that you're not reducing the cash balance in a way that is going to be disruptive in your business. But you've seen that even evolve a little bit too with from the AP side when you have you're looking at like a bill.com type of software that's really just an AP solution, but then you have RPA, which is that robotic process automation, right, where humans actually telling the robot what to do. But now you're starting to see the AI side of that, where it's an AI tool and it's just constantly learning. It's identifying areas of do we know this vendor, right? It starts to get red flags from a risk control. But all along the way, those tools help the process, so you're not sitting down countless hours to writing checks anymore, and it just helps from efficiency to make sure that it's making an impactful, efficient business, especially a business owner where you're wearing many hats and you might be doing the books yourself, but this will help take some of those hats off of your head, but give you the comfort to know that there's tools out there to make your life easier.
Awesome. I guess I wanted to dive into a little bit on the revenue side as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've seen that there's pretty much, I mean, most software companies are activity-based billing in one way, shape, or form or another. There might be tiered pricing, unlimited up to this number of actions, or unlimited, and from this number of actions to this number of actions, be it users or what have you. There's tiers, right? Then there's another model that's purely, and then that has to reside within guidelines. Like the system has to detect, oh, you can have up to 10 users, and the minute you add an 11th user, oh, well, you're out of compliance. Now you have to upgrade and pay more. The other one is, but essentially the bill is the same amount every single month. The other one is activity-based billing, where there might be a certain number of actions, like API calls or what have you, that there's billing based on that activity, and it changes month to month. So if there's 1,000 this month at 1 cent each, it's okay. Well, that's $10. But if it's the next month if there's 1,000,000, okay, well then that's 1,000, right? So then the third model I've seen is what's called like partner pricing, or like a partner channel, where actually the software is being white labeled and sold out on another platform, and then the access is based on the activity level of the actual user, the end user, is not necessarily the person who's the client of the company. So I guess all three of them can be automated, but which ones do you feel like are the easiest or the most difficult to get from completely from completely manual to completely automated? Do you have any insight on that?
Yeah, and those are some great models, and I think there's automation for all of them, right? I mean, if you're looking at a tiered structure, right, with different levels, and this is great for SaaS, right? Consulting, more of that kind of services would be great, and it's a call it once a month fee depending on the package, and that's just like can be very automated right off the bat. And I think that's, I guess, pretty easy. And then the activity base, right? I mean, there's solutions and automation for all three. I think the easier one, in my opinion, might be that tiered structure. If it's just call it a monthly plan, depending on your structure, that just gets automated until it's canceled, I guess. In the activity, it can be very streamlined. I think there's some variables, whether it's on a per hour basis or per transaction, per email, whatever, just some examples that it's depending on some activity that will actually need the information in order to generate that. But I think for me that of the three different models, I think the tier pricing is relatively easier than the other models, because I think it's more of a, call it a fixed fee that gets it's called reoccurring. But that would be my, I guess, opinion.
Yeah, I definitely feel like the experience that I've had with activity-based pricing is there's a lot of businesses that struggle with determining which is the actual driver, the key driver, and which one is the best one to build off of, because lots of businesses have multiple variables, be it user, be it API calls, be it automations, be it external links. There's a bunch of different things that can generate cost and complexity need to be managed, and choosing the best one can also be a challenge. But regardless of what it is, it needs to be captured in the main panel, in the admin panel, and then reported on. And that definitely can be automated. It's just a matter of working on it. Another concept that came up with this is something called enhanced financial reporting. How do you define that? The normal financial reporting, I guess, is like the P&L, but what's enhanced financial reporting?
Yeah, and I think, and that is great question. You start to see that a little bit more, because I think when even you remove the word enhance and you just have financial reporting, I think everyone just literally instantly goes to the P&L, right? Your income statement that shows your profitability, right? Your balance sheet and the cash flow statement. So those three, but the enhanced financial reporting are those, but there are deeper insights. More of the data. We talked about having dashboards and better even visuals. I would say more like decision ready data, right? And when we start looking at, like, say, an enhanced financial reporting, call it a package of some sort or a dashboard, but I mean, you're looking at all three of those statements, but you might have the dashboard that's part of that reporting, right? These are real-time financial information, some sort of KPIs, there might be some graphs or some trend lines in there, right? Or percentages that you might not get from a standard P&L. But some of these could actually just be simple as, forecast to actuals, or looking at scenario planning, cash flow projections, more insights than just here's how we're doing, right? And I like to say that when you're looking at the three financial statements, there's two pieces, right? There's the accounting side of that, where you're looking at information that's happened already in the past. This is just information. These are transactions that have been booked, but then the enhancement of it is in the finance side is really how do we take that information so we can actually use it going forward now, saying this is what a point in time, saying this is all the information that we've done. Now we can start to dive in, and that's where some of the tools come in. How are we doing to our budget, that we planned on, that we're doing? Or let's do some scenario planning that, if best case scenario, this is the outcome, or worst case scenario, and how does that affect cash? So that when you have the enhanced financial reporting, you can really take a deep dive on how the business is doing, but also apply that to where you're going so that you can make good business decisions. So it really helps from an overall perspective of the business.
Yeah, I think I think of these sometimes as with respect to what do you call it? Leveraging technology. I think of them as projection tools. Usually, is saying, okay, well, there's based on, like, we talked about an AI driving a predictive analytics, where it's like, okay, well, this tool can dig into all the old stuff, analyze it, and with a little bit of guidance, figure out next steps for the next week, month, quarter, maybe even a year, based on past performance and actions that you can plug into the software. So there's good stuff there, and I think it's definitely going on beyond just the normal stuff. The normal stuff being the three financial statements. I guess the other thing that some people have considered is like, well, is all this stuff safe? Am I putting all my financial data out there on all these different internet platforms? Is that, do we need to worry about that, or is it okay? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's always a worry, especially with sensitive information out there. And I know personally I am too, right? Call it fraud, scams, all that stuff is around us everywhere we go. But a lot of these tools have taken those measures to really enhance that security, because they are dealing in sensitive information with companies, different of their clients, which are different companies, and all that information's part of those tools that are usually linked to those accounting softwares. But you start to see a lot of these folks that know that they're dealing with sensitive information, but have the encryption and the cloud base. There's different authentications to log in, and they're taking the measures that that they should. So I feel pretty comfortable with the way that a lot of these tools out there that they know it's very sensitive. So very, very confident that this is a um, very secure tools that are being implemented, right? Just like anything. I mean, you look at those banks and credit cards. I mean, they get hacked and personal information. I mean, that's a big blow to the credibility of that company. And a lot of these guys are with the tools that have been developed are pretty remarkable, but they also want to make sure that they're here for a while, and they want to make sure that it's encrypted, safe, that everyone can use it. So
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, good stuff. I feel like we hit most of the topics. Anything else you wanted to add or comment on here with respect to this?
yeah, I'd just like to add that, like, even just when we talk about like leveraging the financial technology, and I feel like it's still growing, it's still in its infancy, and it's growing pretty rapidly. And what we're doing today may not be tomorrow. There might be even additional features or tools that are out there. But you kind of touched on it too, Chad, was even using tools like financial technology to help for the forward kind of thinking and the path forward. But even just using automation that can help current processes now can really be impactful to business owners that are wearing many hats. So it's definitely worth exploring for the business and see if there's tools out there that can really make an impact.
Awesome. Yeah, I definitely feel like we are blessed to be in such a dynamic period with respect to this. The advent of AI and has just sort of been burst upon the scene in the last couple of years is really going to be a game changer in a lot of different ways. In not only especially in the finance world, because there's a lot of logic-based things that happen, and that's really the strength of these tools. But anyway, thanks for listening. Thanks for joining me today, Jeff. And please feel free to leave some comments, and don't hesitate to reach out if you have any further questions or want to add to the conversation.